Hey there, I wanted to do another show and tell video about a project which is mostly complete. I have some minor touch-ups to do, but I wanted to show off a custom action figure that I've been working on and is nearly complete, and sort of talk through some of the design and iteration process that it actually went through. Um, so I'll just start with the completed piece. So this is a about 4-inch scale action figure of the, it depends on, it's actually, this design shows up in multiple iterations of the video game series Dark Souls, and so I first saw it in the first one. This is, I think, the character of Oscar of Astora, who's sort of a knight who you meet who's just about to die, and he gives you the this magical item, which is your replenishing healing potion called the Estus Flask. But this design was used on all the box art for sort of the first game. It's a cool, asymmetrical knight design with a mix of armor plates, but then also some cloth, and then sort of this cool chest insignia. So I like robots, I like knights, so I was taken by the design. I love that game, so I spent a lot of time playing it. Went and got this armor set in the game, so my character could look like that. So carries a lot of meaning for me, both aesthetically and then also connected to, piece of fiction that I'm into. But this is the completed work. My first attempt at doing something like that actually was this one, which I made in 2015. And actually, I'll hold them up side by side for a sec. So you can see he's a little shorter. He's actually made on some sort of off-brand G.I. Joe body. And again, sort of mix of cloth and plate armor. But here, this is well before a 3D printer was within my price range or grasp, or I was doing any 3D modeling. So there's a base body under here, which was actually just sort of a generic military guy, and then I went and lopped the head off a knight figure that didn't quite have the right helmet, but sort of the back half was close enough. And so then I went in and used marine putty, which is like a 2-part epoxy putty, to cover it and build up sort of the helmet details, built up the shoulder pad here, the glove, built this shoulder pauldron actually as a separate piece, which is then connected by sort of a twist tie, so it like straps over. The coat is a little piece of scrap leather, as is the scarf. And then I think I stole this bow from a G.I. Joe figure. This sword was from the knight figure that I took the head from. And yeah, the shin pads are marine putty again. Most of the paints on this are Citadel miniature paints, since I was used to painting Warhammer, so it's what I had around. I think the silver might even just be a kind of a cheap craft paint, but gets the effect done. So, I was happy with the durability. The marine putty holds up well to being played around with. The base figure was pretty good. I wish he had ankle tilt so he could kind of, stand himself up a little bit better. But he does have a peg in his foot, so you can kind of like stick him onto a base. That helps. But all in all, pretty well executed. This is one of the, I think, few attempts at a custom action figure that I was genuinely happy with. I felt I had made something that was as good to me as if I had gone out and bought something. So that was sort of my definitive version of that for a while. And then you know, it was actually seeing some photos from some Sotheby pieces that a Japanese maker who goes by the name NeoPlayer1, he was going to make a figure of this character as a Sotheby piece and release it at this event called Wonder Festival, which is 2 times a year in Japan. Large corporations allow small independent makers to use their license and basically make whatever they want. They say, you know, for this one day only in person, you can use our licensed character and make whatever version you want. And so I saw that he was making my favorite character, and I was like, oh man, I really want that, but I've just been to Japan, so there's no way I'm going to be able to go back in time. You know, it's not cheap, and you know, I really have grown to love this smaller scale. So, what can I do to fill this hole for myself? And so I decided to see if I could 3D model something. So what I did is I went online and found a 3D model of this character that was a fixed statue. And so I went in Blender and lopped off his head, lopped off his shoulder, his elbow pad, his shin guards, his knees, this shoulder pauldron, and and the little belt pouches. And so made them into independent pieces. Because while in my actual visit to Japan this past December, I was able to get a whole bunch of, actually, this is the better one, these figures, which are, they're called, I think these are Shoto Kamen Riders, because they're a little taller than the Soto. But these are really good articulated bodies. You know, they got ball jointed hips, ball jointed ankles, which is a great thing for balance. You know, their shoulders can move all over the place. They come with interchangeable hands, so you can have them like open palm or like holding an item. And they're very easy to just like pop apart, put back together, and they're sturdy. So this is, you know, a great strong base, and the yen was pretty weak when I went, so I was able to pick up a bunch of these for like $10, $12. So I didn't have to feel bad about, you know, taking something that was a real expensive toy and then modifying it. So I had those around, but before I did that, actually, I made this version. And so this really came about, I was planning to do an Elite Knight custom, and had already started cutting up the armor pieces. But at my local Walmart, they were clearancing out a whole bunch of figures from the Buzz Lightyear movie, which, you know, I had no particular interest in that movie, nor the toys, until I saw a bunch of people online posting pictures of using them as sort of generic astronauts, and also saying that they were being clearanced out for like $7. So I went down and saw what I could find, and, you know, here's an unmodified one. And again, these are pretty good sturdy base figures. They got a, you know, ball joint at the neck. They've got fairly mobile shoulders. This guy's a little hindered by his armor here. So actually, you know, the one I have here is, or this was formerly Buzz Lightyear in a flight jumpsuit, or like a mechanic suit, so he can almost fully lift his arms straight out. But then they got, you know, good range of motion in hips, can bend at the knee pretty well. They got no ankles, but that's fine. Actually, you know, again, this one actually has boots that move, so that's pretty cool. So a really sturdy, you know, fairly articulated base to build on top of. And so the advantage of doing it first at this larger scale was I could kind of try out a lot of ideas without, you know, really having to force the limits of my manual dexterity. So I actually went in, and I don't know if it will show up on the camera, but I actually sewed the hem of the coat, because this cloth is really, and actually it's starting to do it, it's really prone to fraying and coming apart. So I tried to, you know, at least slow down that process by hemming the edge of the coat there. Again, more pieces of scrap leather for sort of this inner skirt and scarf. I decided to use my work printer to try to print out the chest insignia. And so this is something that I was able to do on this one that, you know, I wasn't able to do on this. You know, I hadn't thought to or had access to a printer, or a color printer, that could print out this design. So this is just on printer paper, and then I put nail polish over the piece of paper to kind of make it a little waterproof and reinforce it. But again, you know, there are those knee pads I 3D printed. Shoulder pauldron, which is actually directly super glued to this coat. This shoulder pauldron is directly super glued to the arm. This helmet isn't even attached. I just stick some sticky tack in there and seat it on this, which is fine. You know, this is for me to play around with. This isn't to be given to a child who might knock it off, but even if they did, you know, you just stick it back on. So no big deal. But you know, I was pretty happy with how this came out. But again, you know, really wish I had that ankle tilt, and also these proportions are, you know, somewhat cartoony, which is okay. But you know, I did have all those Kamen Rider figures, and so, you know, once I knew that it would work in this scale, I wanted to see if I could scale it down. And so that's sort of what led to this final piece of, you know, can I measure it to a 4-inch scale, and basically redo all the techniques that I've applied to this 5-inch figure to a 4-inch figure. And so I'm super excited with this one. This has got me wanting to make other characters from the game. So, like, you know, here's Solaire, who you might know from various internet memes. This is actually just a kit bash using one of the very few Dark Souls action figures that ever came out. This is the head and shoulder pieces from, scarf pieces from, and actually the skirt too, is from the Dark Souls Mega Merge figures, which there were 2 figures, Solaire and a Black Knight, and you know, they had sort of counter style or 5 points articulation with maybe some moving boots and wrists, but you know, not this. They couldn't do like a flying kick like, oops, like this guy can. I'll pop off his skirt just so he can, you know, really get into it. You know, these, you know, if you have a Kamen Rider figure and it can't do a flying kick, like, what are you even doing? So, you know, that's why these base bodies are so great. So I may keep working this guy to try to bring him up to the level of quality that I've managed with this, but you know, this was, let's see, this guy was made in 2015, so that is and it's 2023 right now, so 5 plus 3, so like this guy was like 8 years in the making. You know, there were some good breaks in the middle, but I wanted to make this to kind of show that if you keep iterating on an idea, you can get something really nice. And you know, I never thought that I would be able to have a cool looking 4-inch action figure of the Elite Knight from Dark Souls that was like this level of quality. You know, I thought I would just have to kind of wait and pray that the license would end up in the hands of some toy manufacturer, and they would do a half-decent job. Whereas, like, you know, I'm only limited by my own ability. I don't have to answer to any corporation or make a profit on this. I can make this as cool as I want. So I'm pretty excited about that. So hope you enjoyed the video. Feel free to leave a comment if you have any questions. Leave a like. I am going to try to keep making videos, so if you want to subscribe, that'd be awesome. And thanks.